Tom Cruise was once the golden boy of Hollywood, the ideal existence, the ideal face, the ideal grin. However, a change began to occur. During a Super Bowl commercial in February 2025, many noted that his face appeared stretched and swollen. He appeared normal in a movie trailer just minutes before. According to a plastic surgeon, his jawline appeared to have been entirely altered by too many fillers. A British broadcaster then made a harsh analogy in July. Tom's face suddenly resembled Play-Doh, he said. What became of the man that millions fell in love with is now the question. Love with is now the question. On July 3, 1962, Tom Cruise was born in Syracuse, New York. However, his existence was characterized by dread and continual change from the start. Thomas Mapother III, his father was an electrical engineer with a bad temper. He frequently lost his temper without cause. He was previously referred to as a merchant of chaos by Tom. He was abusive. It went beyond simple ranting. They also never lingered in one spot for very long. Tom attended 15 different schools by the time he was 14 years old. He spent 1 month in Canada and the next in New Jersey or Kentucky. He had to go every time he made a buddy. He was always on edge because of that kind of life. Although he never felt secure, he learned how to adjust quickly, which would be useful to him in Hollywood. When he was only 7 years old in 1969, his instructors saw that he was struggling with reading. They claimed he was intelligent, but there was a problem. He had severe dyslexia, according to the results of certain examinations. Letters didn't remain motionless on the page for Tom. They didn't make sense and shifted around. At school, he was called names by the kids. A few educators became irritated with him. Tom didn't give up, though. He discovered another route. He began by listening to learn. He would repeatedly have scripts read to him. He committed every syllable to memory in this way. Not only his lines, but all of them. What began as an agonizing fight became one of his greatest assets. When Tom was 12 years old in 1974, his mother, Mary Lee, at last made a courageous decision. She departed from her violent spouse. She left with nearly nothing after packing up the children. All of a sudden, she had no money and no job skills, and she was parenting 4 children alone. She did all she could, including cleaning houses and working as a waitress. She occasionally put in 16 hours a day at work. They were constantly looking for cheaper rent, so they relocated about. Tom realized he had to assist his mother after seeing her struggle. He delivered newspapers, manicured lawns, and did anything else for a few bucks. All of the money went to his mother. He learned the importance of hard effort and how much he wanted to be in charge of his own destiny during that period. At the age of 14, something unexpected occurred in 1976. Tom expressed his desire to become a priest to his family. In Ohio, he enrolled in a Catholic seminary and adhered to the rigorous timetable, religious rites, Latin classes, and early morning prayers. He was regarded by teachers as dedicated and serious. However, it was short-lived. Tom and a few other youngsters stole the wine cellar one evening and drank the communion wine. Tom was expelled after they were discovered. Later, he claimed that the event helped him realize that life wasn't what he was supposed to do. Rules weren't meant for him. He was supposed to act. Tom's life began to stabilize in 1978. Tom was well treated by Jack South, a paint salesman his mother married. They relocated to New Jersey's Glen Ridge. For the first time, Tom was supported by someone and had a stable home and education. His dream of joining the wrestling squad was dashed by a knee injury. He was asked to try out for the school play by his acting instructor one day. In Guys and Dolls, Tom was cast in the starring role. Something clicked all of a sudden. He felt alive on stage. He put all of his energy into it, memorizing everyone's lines, not just his. The crowd adored him. He went on to perform in several plays and received the drama award from the school. Everything changed during those 18 months in New Jersey. Acting was more than a pastime. It turned to become his new dream. Before Tom's high school graduation in 1980, he made a choice that terrified his entire family. He left school to pursue a career as an actor in New York City. All he had was a bag of clothes and $500. He was given a rat-infested apartment in Hell's Kitchen and stayed in a budget hostel close to Times Square. He had to work as a busboy to make ends meet because his rent was $200. $30. In the first 3 months, he lost 20 pounds by eating dollar pizza and quick noodles. He was turned down for a soap show audition because he was too serious. He was deeply affected by that remark. In an attempt to make his name sound more powerful and memorable, he changed it from Thomas Mapother IV to Tom Cruise. He then landed his first movie role in 1981. It was only a brief scene in the film Endless Love. He received $500, ignited a fire in one scene, and was done. However, his enthusiasm was noticeable in some way. He was spotted. In that scenario, he started a fire that extended beyond the screen. It was the start of something really big. He tried out for The Outsiders in 1983. He was auditioning for the part of Soda Pop when he paused and said, "This isn't working for me." Rob Lowe was among those who were shocked. However, that instance demonstrated Tom's awareness of his own limitations. Cite a minor role rather than pressuring it, and he stood out the more because of his minor role. Risky Business was released in the same year. Despite having a modest $6.02 million budget, it made nearly $63 million. He became a star thanks to the well-known underwear dance. It was praised by critics. Tom was also nominated for his first Golden Globe. He made all the proper decisions that year. Shot in icy Pennsylvania, he was pushed to the limit by the severe weather, but he didn't moan. He put his everything into the part, demonstrating his willingness to suffer for genuineness. He would subsequently become well known for performing his own stunts because of that mentality. He starred in the Ridley Scott-directed film Legend in 1985. Even though Tom didn't use bulky prosthetics, the makeup process was rigorous. He collaborated closely with a team that was in charge of the biggest cosmetics operation at the time. Tim Curry, his co-star, once injured himself by tearing off his own prosthetics out of frustration. Tom was prepared for the demands of large productions after learning about them from this experience. Then, in 1986, Tom collaborated with Paul Newman on The Color of Money, which was directed by Martin Scorsese. To make it look legitimate, Tom put a lot of effort into his training as a teenage pool hustler. Cruise shown that he could compete with the greats, but Newman took home an Oscar. Top Gun blew up in the same year. Tom encountered G-force blackouts when flying in actual F-14 jets, which could approach 800 in speed. The Navy even modified its regulations for him after he completed more than 40 hours of air experience. The movie grossed $356 million and made Tom Cruise famous all over the world. With $2 million per film, he became the highest-paid actor under 25. He starred in Cocktail 1988, which brought in $171 million. After months of practice and learning actual bartending techniques, Tom smashed 47 bottles throughout his training. Rain Man was released in the same year. After learning that his biological father had left him when he was 12, Tom created a pivotal scene. His performance astounded Dustin Hoffman, and the movie took home 4 Oscars. Tom accepted an agreement that would provide him a portion of the earnings. In the end, he earned $15 million. Tom pushed himself even harder on July 4, 1989, in Bourne. He shed 35 pounds, spent months in a wheelchair, and spoke with other Vietnam veterans to learn about their suffering. He even injured his hand while filming, yet he continued to pretend as though there was actual blood on it. He donated $3 million of his pay to organizations that support veterans. He and Paula Wagner launched their own production firm the same year. He started making Days of Thunder after investing $2 million. He pushed for practical effects, selected actors, and revised scripts. Even investing millions to capture actual NASCAR collisions on camera. His business landed $50 million in studio deals in a single year. However, there was also criticism of Bourne on the 4th of July. Due to the fact that Cruise had never served, many veterans objected to the movie. Even objects were thrown at the set by others. Death threats were sent to Cruise. Despite the tremendous level of strain, he remained dedicated. The movie changed public perceptions of Vietnam veterans and earned $161 million. Subsequently established a $500,000 scholarship fund for veterans with disabilities. On Days of Thunder, Tom Cruise didn't merely pose as a race car driver. In fact, he became one. He trained with actual NASCAR drivers, got behind the wheel, and raced at speeds of exceeding 180 miles per hour when the movie was being filmed in 1990. He had cue cards attached to the windshield in one scene to help him remember his lines, and as a result, he crashed the vehicle. He challenged himself to become proficient at driving 700 horsepower stock cars on well-known racetracks like Charlotte and Daytona. He met Nicole Kidman on site that same year. In the movie, she portrayed a doctor. While filming, they fell in love, and on Christmas Eve of 1990, they were married. Only a few months after the filming was completed. 2 years later, he played the part of a military lawyer in A Few Good Men. It was difficult to film the courtroom scene where Jack Nicholson yells, "You can't handle the truth." It was filmed 95 times by the filmmaker. Cruise had to repeatedly ask the same pointed questions, such as, "Did you order the code red?" Until everything seemed genuine. The movie was a big hit. That one sequence became a legend, earning almost $236 million. People were surprised to learn that Cruise was portraying Lestat in the 1994 release of Interview with the Vampire. At first, the book's author detested the notion and even declared that he could never be her Lestat. Cruise, however, didn't mince words. He spent months honing his predatory movement, and while filming, even bit actual rats. To make it appear realistic, they also utilized mechanical rats with concealed tubes. The entire film was primarily filmed at night, and the actors spent a lot of time wearing elaborate makeup and costumes. Ultimately, the author had a change of heart and declared that Cruise's performance was courageous and strong. With Mission in 1996, Cruise permanently altered the genre of action films. Not possible. He was not going to fake the stunts. He was seen hanging from the side of a train traveling through the Channel Tunnel at 70 miles per hour in one of the most outrageous images. In fact, he was present. Not a double, no gimmicks. In addition, he performed the well-known vault scene by hanging from wires in a single take that lasted more than 6 minutes. The majority of the $80 million spent on the film's actual stunts rather than its computer effects. He displayed a different side in Jerry Maguire that same year. Early in 1997, he was awarded a Golden Globe for Best Actor. Even the well-known line, "Show me the money," wasn't in the original draft. It became a catchphrase across America after Cruise came up with the notion to shout it repeatedly. With director Stanley Kubrick, Cruise worked on Eyes Wide Shut for 15 months in a row from late 1996 to mid-1998. It turned out to be the longest film shoot ever. A single straightforward scene was filmed 95 times by Kubrick. Cruise didn't tell anyone since he didn't want to slow things down, but he was so agitated that he acquired an ulcer. Both Cruise and Nicole Kidman were pushed to the limit by the film's intensely emotional passages. Kubrick passed just 6 days after the conclusion of filming. The film served as his farewell to the world. Cruise went much farther in his mission, impossible to, in 2000. In Utah, he engaged in risky rock climbing on a 2,000-foot cliff. In one section, he repeatedly leaped 15 feet down onto a hard rock until it appeared exactly right. He almost felt the spinning blades of a helicopter brush against his skull. Strong winds occasionally forced the crew to cease filming. Cruise, however, insisted on preserving the scene, and Cruise entered an unfamiliar environment in 2001 while flying in a vanilla sky. He contacted Cameron Crowe, the director of the Spanish film's version, to urge him to see it. He even managed to get Penelope Cruz to reprise her original role. For the scenes following his character's vehicle accident, Cruise donned facial prosthetics. The film earned more than $200 million, and despite initial disapproval, gradually developed a cult following. Training lasted over 2 years for The Last Samurai in 2003. He studied martial arts, sword fighting, and Japanese. He executed the majority of the horseback battle scenes personally and collaborated closely with a sword master, an actual French lieutenant who engaged in combat with the samurai in the 1800s, served as the inspiration for the tale. With $456 million, the film became the 6th highest hit in 2003. Cruise even received a Golden Globe nomination. Cruise portrayed Vincent, a chili-collected killer in the 2004 film Collateral. He didn't look like Cruise at all. He wore a gray suit and had silver hair. He makes a cab driver drive him around Los Angeles for the duration of the film, which is set in a single night. Cruise changed into a scary, emotionless person, and others were astounded by his altered appearance and behavior. Then, in 2005, came War of the Worlds. Cruise portrayed a dad attempting to protect his children from an alien invasion. For one of the scenarios, they purchased a real Boeing 747 and transformed it into debris. The 73-day filming process was spread over 5 states. According to Spielberg, it was his longest shoot in more than 10 years. Even requested that Spielberg put another film on hold so they could start with this one. In 2008, Cruise shocked everyone with Tropic Thunder. Nobody was aware that he was in it. He danced like a crazy person while portraying a loud, bald, and heavyset movie boss. Cruise came up with the idea for the character. He wanted to dance and requested for fat hands. He wasn't even featured in the trailers by the studio. People couldn't believe it when they realized it was him. It demonstrated Cruise's willingness to take chances and seem foolish. Cruise scaled the Burj Khalifa in 2011 while filming Ghost Protocol, a Mission Impossible movie. He was suspended more than 2,000 feet above the earth. To install safety equipment, they had to break windows and drill holes in the structure. His legs went numb from the tightness of his harness. Due to flight regulations, helicopters were only allowed to film for 30 minutes, and they used specialized DMX cameras. As usual, he declined to stunt double. Cruise filmed all of the car chase sequences in Jack Reacher 2012 on actual Pittsburgh streets. He spent months training and learning fierce hand-to-hand combat. Because the film began with a sniper attack, its distribution was postponed following the Sandy Hook massacre. Cruise's gritty military investigator, however, seemed genuine and unvarnished when it was eventually released in December 2012. Then followed Rogue Nation's riskiest air stunt of 2015. As the actual Airbus A400M lifted off, Cruise managed to hold on to it. He was 5,000 feet in the air when he was struck by 5G forces. The jet had to take off 8 times, and the crew had just 48 hours to get it perfect. Cruise grip panels designed for paratroopers and rushed across the wing. To keep it realistic, he wore virtually little protective gear. Cruise recorded a plane accident in zero gravity for The Mummy in 2017. He traveled in a unique aircraft that reached 25,000 feet and then descended to produce weightlessness. Almost all of it was filmed without the use of computer graphics. Cruise and the team got only a few minutes of zero gravity on each of the few trips they had to complete. One of the most difficult scenes ever shot in the air was this one. Cruise fractured his ankle climbing across rooftops in London in 2018 while filming Mission Impossible: Fallout. Still, he completed the scene. He even has a noticeable limp. He took a 6-month break from filming to recuperate, yet he came back and performed even more stunts. They recorded portions where he could sit and rest his ankle during the break. Because of his commitment, a genuine injury became a part of the narrative. Ultimately, Top Gun: Maverick became Cruise's greatest hit in 2022. He underwent rigorous pilot training before flying actual F-18 military jets. He forced the young performers to endure the same ordeal. Inside the cockpits, they employed specially designed IMAX cameras. Cruise wanted the film in theaters during the pandemic, so he rejected all streaming offers. Despite a 3-year delay, it earned around $1.5 billion and was the second highest earning film of 2022. It demonstrated that Tom Cruise was still prepared to take on challenging tasks in real life, despite the passage of time. In 1987, Tom Cruise married Mimi Rogers at the age of just 24. She was already a Scientologist and an actor. She introduced Tom to the religion that would influence nearly every aspect of his future. Although their relationship appeared solid at first, things weren't going well behind closed doors. Rumor had it that Tom was unable to conceive. In a 1993 interview with Playboy, Mimi made a joke about it, implying that he was considering becoming a monk. People were left wondering after that remark. In 1990, their marriage came to an end. Later, Mimi claimed that Tom's obsession with his job was the reason. His 2-word motto in life was career first. They were torn apart by his obsession with not knowing how to slow down. She added that a wall was put between them as a result of his growing participation in Scientology. On the set of Days of Thunder, Tom immediately met Nicole Kidman. In 1990, they were married. Although they were concealing grief from the world, everyone believed they were the ideal pair. At age 23, Nicole experienced her first miscarriage. The baby was growing in the wrong spot within her since the pregnancy was ectopic. She later claimed that not enough people discussed the sadness caused by that loss. Following that, they adopted Connor and Isabella. However, Nicole experienced her second miscarriage in March 2001, immediately following Tom's divorce filing. Her pregnancy was 3 months along. It was a public breakup that coincided with a private heartbreak. It was made even more difficult by the divorce, the loss, and the quiet surrounding it. Tom began dating Penelope Cruz following their breakup. She stayed with him for 3 years and co-starred with him in Vanilla Sky. To be nearer to him, she even began to learn Scientology. However, it was unsuccessful. Penelope adhered to Buddhism and had no intention of abandoning it. She was disliked by Scientology authorities, particularly David Miscavige. According to a former member, obeying the church is just as important as loving Tom. There were suspicions that Scientology had begun auditioning Tom for a new wife after their 2004 breakup. It was denied by the church, but people continued to think about it. Next up was Katie Holmes. Tom yelled his adoration for Oprah while jumping on her couch in 2005. It was romantic but wild. In 2006, the year their daughter Suri was born, they were married in a castle in Italy. As Katie used to say, she had always dreamed about marrying Tom. "The man of my dreams," she said. By 2012, however, the dream had given way to terror. Katie requested full custody of Suri in her divorce filing. Tom was taken aback. It caught him off guard. They reached a swift and silent agreement. Katie wanted to prevent Suri from becoming involved with Scientology. That turn became the boundary that no side could cross. The harm had already been done, but they decided to respect one another's ideas. Tom and Suri haven't been spotted together since. In 2012, the final public appearance took place at Disneyland. She was just 6 years old, more than 10 years old. She graduated from high school in 2024, but Tom was nowhere to be found. He was spotted taking in a Taylor Swift performance in London that same day. People were incredulous. Former Scientologists said that the church's disconnection policy was to blame. You break off contact with someone who quits the religion. Tom put his convictions ahead of being a father, and Katie had shielded Suri from the church. Suri can now make her own decisions because she is 18. However, their relationship appears to be fractured after all these years. Tom also made headlines in 2005 when he accused Brooke Shields of using antidepressants after having birth. He accused her of taking medicine and claimed that there was no such thing as a chemical imbalance. He advised individuals to simply exercise and take vitamins. In response, Brooke wrote a compelling article for the New York Times. She advised him to leave mental health to the experts and focus on defending the planet from extraterrestrials. She made it apparent that he was unaware of the symptoms of postpartum depression. Brooke claimed that Tom's later apologies wasn't very good. It was all he could manage. When Mimi Rogers first introduced Tom to Scientology in 1986, he developed a strong bond with the organization. He kept it a secret at first. However, he acknowledged everything in a 1992 interview with Barbara Walters following a press leak in 1990. He claimed that the church assisted him in overcoming his dyslexia. He eventually rose to prominence in Scientology. He became good friends with David Miscavige, who had started living with him in the late 1980s. However, Tom momentarily recoiled when he was informed that the church would divulge information about an extraterrestrial king by the name of Xenu. In 1999, Marty Rathbun was sent to bring him back into the fold while he was filming Eyes Wide Shut. Then, in 2008, a video of Tom discussing Scientology in ways that even his admirers found shocking was leaked online. He said that Scientologists were the only true mental experts and that they were the only ones who could assist in an automobile accident. Despite the church's best efforts, the video went viral and was viewed by millions of people. His voice seemed powerful and unusual. Many claim that it no longer felt like the genuine Tom. Things became considerably more serious in 2015 with the HBO documentary Going Clear. Former senior Scientologists voiced their opinions. They said that the church assisted Tom in dating women. One claimed that after being called a troublemaker, Nicole Kidman had been wiretapped. Another person called the church's efforts to find Tom a partner white slavery. Additionally, they said that Kidman prevented Tom from joining Scientology for years, allowing the church to spy on him via one of his own staff members. These tales presented a rather bleak image. Things became much more intimate in 2001, when a male adult film star said that Tom's divorce from Nicole was the result of his romance with Tom. He was sued for $100 million by Tom. Tom obtained a $10 million judgment after the man acknowledged lying. Tom had already had to contend with unfounded allegations regarding his sexual orientation. He had previously won a lawsuit against a publisher for a narrative that was similar. At about the same time, a former church official made a startling revelation. Tom's confidential confessions during auditing sessions were surreptitiously captured on tape between July and November 2001. David Miscavies received every word, despite the church's claims that it was done to assess the quality of the session. They even refrained from becoming overly involved until after Tom and Nicole's divorce was finalized. Private therapy was being surreptitiously observed. Concerns regarding the church's treatment of even its most well-known members grew as a result of that betrayal. Another former Scientology executive, Mitch Briskier, made news in late 2023, claimed that Tom Cruise was the most common victim of the church. He asserted that Miscavige had complete control over everything, including the soap used aboard their cruise ship. Tom wasn't free, according to Briskier. He had everything under control. According to Lee Remini, who departed in 2013, anyone who voiced criticism of Tom within the church faced severe consequences. Others supported her. Nevertheless, the church denied all of this and claimed that these individuals were all lying. Fans began to worry about something else in February 2025. People observed that Tom's face appeared stretched and puffy when he featured in a Super Bowl commercial. 10 minutes prior, he appeared normal in a Mission Impossible trailer. According to a plastic surgeon, his face appeared to have been reshaped by an excessive amount of fillers. His once sharp jawline has softened. According to the doctor, excessive injections of filler are typically the cause of this type of skin stretching and swelling. By May 2025, Tom described the strain he was putting on his body to fulfill his purpose. Stunts that are impossible. He told People magazine that he ate coffee, toast, bacon, sausage, and nearly a dozen eggs every morning, only to provide his body energy. He said that flying at 120 miles per hour on top of a biplane burns a lot of calories. Compared to early wing-walking planes, it was 3 times quicker. Up there, he needed calories and protein to keep alive. Jonathan Ross, a British host, made a cruel remark in July 2025. He likened Tom's face to Play-Doh in his podcast. He claimed that although Tom used to be a naturally attractive man, he now appeared artificial. He claimed that he simply didn't look like himself anymore, without labeling him unattractive. Fans concurred and responses erupted online. In August of that year, Tom finally opened up. He said in an interview that his back nearly shattered from the crazy plane antics. In one scene, the plane flipped upside down and he had to hang from a seatbelt. His fingers' joints were separated by the pressure. He had swollen hands. It hurt. Tom had endured a great deal of suffering, as his director attested. The weather in Africa even forced them to reshoot several scenes. Although some of the changes in his appearance may be explained by the injuries in Ipanema, many admirers felt that it was too late. He no longer had the same face as the Tom they knew.